Hi guys, I'm Mariel Gardiner here with Accepting Therapy, LLC, and this week I'm here with David, one of our amazing therapists. It's been wonderful to have him join the team and to get to know him, and so we're going to ask a few questions so you can get to know him as well. Hi David.
Hey there, how's it going?
Good. So let's jump right in. So why don't you tell me a little bit about what made you kind of join mental health and pursue a
Sure.
career in the mental health field?
Absolutely. Well, I will say, first of all, I didn't start off in this field. I worked in another field for a number of years, was very unfulfilled, and decided to make a left turn. And luckily was able to go to graduate school and get the training to then be able to come here and work at Accepting. The longer story, I guess, is that when I was about 19 and went away to college, I experienced depression for the first time.
Mhm.
And didn't know what was happening and struggled with it for a while until I finally got some help and met somebody who was able to talk to me and was able to help me understand what was going on. And that experience was incredibly moving and something that I really have taken with me the rest of my life. And so that was kind of the thing that caused me to realize that there's a whole world out there that a lot of people don't really know about.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so glad to hear that you had a positive experience with therapy early on. And, you know, speaking with you and getting to know you, it's kind of funny to imagine you as anything other than a therapist because I feel like the role just fits you so well. Yeah,
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. I've always loved talking to people and always loved kind of listening to people's problems and helping them as much as I can. But that was always a very sort of, disorganized thing, like as a friend or something like that. But to then be able to have some skills to do this in a real professional way has been incredibly rewarding for me. And it feels like I was meant to be doing this for a long time. So thank you.
yeah, that's great. And I think a lot of us kind of started that way too, where we were just the confidant or the friend that was always there. And turning it into a career is definitely a good segue, I think, for that skill.
Absolutely. It's a nice way to help a lot of people.
Sure. So next question, what would you say, how do you bring cultural humility into your practice?
Absolutely. Well, I, that phrase is, I think, really important. When I was going through graduate school, it was not originally called cultural humility. It was called
Mhm.
cultural competence.
Yeah.
And that was the term that everybody used, as if you could kind of get like an A+ in understanding the Asian American experience, or get a gold star in what it would be like to be someone of the opposite gender. I, Realistically, there's no way that we as therapists can be competent in someone else's experience. All we can really do is be humble before it, because people experience the world in so many different and profound ways. And some of those are shaped by culture, some of those are shaped by individual experience. But realizing that we're not the experts here, that the people who are coming to us are the experts, and our job is to help them sort of sort some things out and move some things around.
Mhm.
That really is the way that I work with my clients, and I think it's an important aspect of being a really good therapist, especially these days.
Sure. Yeah, I think it's an important distinction, like competence and humility. I'm so glad that we're starting to kind of reframe the way that we're looking at that and always remembering that, the client is the expert in their own lives and we're there to really just, like you said, be humble and to understand, their experiences.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's something that takes a while to understand as a therapist, because we want to sort of help people, and instead to just be able to sit there and listen to their experience, listen to their world, understand their landscape, and then be able to sort of work with them to shift it is incredibly powerful. And it's something that I've seen with a lot of clients with a very diverse set of backgrounds. And I think it all does come from that stance of being humble, of not putting yourself above the client, but meeting them right exactly where they're at.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely. And what would you say your approach to therapy is?
Well, whenever I talk about, it's funny because I don't actually use that word a lot when I am working with clients. I only ever refer to it as work,
Mm.
because when I ask clients to step into that space, and that's the other phrase I use, is space. I merely sort of create space the client steps into it, we explore around for a while. It's a little bit like a laboratory, and then they go out into the real world and have all the experience that they have there. And so, you know, I really do talk about it in terms of work. We ask people to do a lot in therapy sometimes, to be uncomfortable, to sit with emotions that they may not fully understand or feel in control of. And so being able to be there with them through that experience can be very powerful.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so interesting because I think, you know, that's one of the things I can really appreciate about this field too, is that each one of us, we're all individuals, and although we're identifying as therapists, we all have a different approach with clients. And I think that's one of the biggest factors that determines whether or not a client is going to be successful in therapy. And, you know, one of the reasons that doing videos and stuff like this is important, to get to know like you as a person and how you function in that space with someone.
Absolutely. I could not agree with that more. And that really, I think, speaks to the fact that this works because of the relationship that is formed between the client and the therapist. And because it is a relationship, it's something that has to work. If you don't feel accepted by your therapist, if you don't feel like they're on your side, then that relationship is not working, and you need to find a new one.
Yeah.
But when that works, when clients feel seen, when they feel empowered, when they feel motivated, it can do incredible work in their lives. And I've seen it again and again, and it's always an amazing thing to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. So with that, can you tell me a little bit about clients that maybe you work well with or who seek you out?
Absolutely. I work with a whole vast range of people. I work with individuals, I work with families, I work with couples. I will say some of the most rewarding work that I have done surrounds parenting and kids and family. Unfortunately, there are no minimum requirements for becoming a parent,
Sure.
and everybody does it differently. And we all, as individuals, go out into the world with the family, the values, the things that we were given. And sometimes those things that we were given were not helpful or not meaningful. And so part of the work that I see is to understand how a client got to where they are, and then to be able to kind of rewrite that story a little bit. So I will say that I love working with kids because they are incredibly resilient, and they're incredibly open, and they are always ready to do work.
Mm-hmm.
And in the individual work that I do with adults, very often we go back into their childhood as well, because a lot of the things that get formed there, they get cemented in place in a way, and they can really lead us in some difficult ways.
Mm-hmm.
That said, I think that I really enjoy working with individuals who are motivated, individuals who want to do the work and who understand that therapy is not just endless navel gazing and trying to understand every last nuanced emotion. It's about action, and it's about taking the things that you learn there out into the world and changing them, changing your relationships, changing your experience, and really feeling a lot more empowered within that.
Sure. Sure. So you kind of see your role as someone who's, you know, exploring maybe the ways that someone's been functioning, the things they've learned growing up, especially. I think we have a lot of family of origin stuff there too. And, you know, exploring those things and maybe pointing out other ways to parent or manage a relationship, or, you know, different ways to kind of learn how to manage like healthier relationships, I guess, is maybe the best way to put that.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of incredible work they can do with that. And I'm so happy to have someone at the practice who works with kids and families and does parenting stuff, because that's very, very needed.
It is. Parenting is a very unique animal, and it's something that everybody, much like therapy, everybody does it differently. And to be able to understand your values as a parent, and some of those inherited values versus the things that you want to be as a parent, makes a lot of difference. One of the things that I always say when I work with parents is that we have to think about the things that we show our kids, not just what we tell them, but what we demonstrate to them. And if you demonstrate anger, you're going to have a kid who grows up to be angry. If you demonstrate bravery, you're going to have a kid who grows up to understand what it really means to be brave.
Mm-hmm.
And so I really, when I work with parents, try to talk a lot about what they show to their kids. That's a very powerful way of talking about what they do.
Absolutely. Yeah. Kids, before they can fully understand, emotions and all that, it's modeled behavior. We're watching the environment and learning how to interact with others and how to interact with ourselves, our feelings, all of that kind of stuff. So that's great. That's a good way to kind of describe it in a very simplified manner. I'm sure the work you do is a little bit more complicated than that, but that's a good way to kind of describe it, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes it is just that simple. There are folks who sometimes come to therapy for just a little thing and then get some help and then they're good to go.
Mm-hmm.
There are people who need more long-term work, and either way, understanding what that work looks like is really important. So whenever I work with clients, I never put a template in place. I never set expectations. I could work with somebody twice, or I could work with somebody for 2 years.
Sure.
And either way, I would try to approach the work in the same way.
Sure. Yeah, I would say I'm similar in that sense of not having a ton of structure, I guess, and we're doing X, Y, and Z, and we're going to see each other for exactly 6 weeks, and gives the client a little bit more autonomy and agency. And if this is still helpful and meaningful for you, let's continue to see each other. Otherwise, go live your life and do your best and all that good stuff. But yeah, great. Thank you for that. And
Absolutely.
just one more question. Anything else you'd like your clients to know about you or you'd like to share with us?
Gosh, I guess I would just come back a little bit to personality and relationship, because one of the things that you hear over and over again from people is therapy isn't for me. And whenever I hear that, what I always hear is, I had an experience with therapy that didn't go well, and therefore I assume it's not for me. And because it is so based in the relationship that you have with your therapist, so much based in the amount of trust that you have with that person, that I always try to make sure that I am a warm and accepting and inviting presence for all of the clients that I work with, even if some of the things that they're bringing in are incredibly difficult. And so I really pride myself on being able to be an open, warm, kind of empathetic voice in a world where people don't get that chance a lot. You don't get a chance to sit down for an hour with somebody and really focus on their problems, and to be able to give that gift to somebody even once, let alone in a consistent way, is something that I find is really, really meaningful.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I can attest to your warmth and, very open demeanor. Every time we've interacted, it's always been very pleasant. So I can tell that that's a very genuine and authentic quality that you have.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today. It was great to get to know you a little bit better and to, get some of these answers, and hopefully people can, see this and either reach out for therapy or reach out for therapy with you and, destigmatize some of this process a little bit too.
Absolutely. I completely agree. Regardless of who you go to, being able to have somebody who is that presence in your life is incredibly important. So I would encourage anybody who is struggling with depression, with anxiety, with just the state of the world in general, therapy can be an incredibly helpful and meaningful and powerful resource. And whether it's with me or somebody else, I would strongly encourage it for pretty much everybody.
Sure. Yeah, I agree. Well, thanks so much for joining me today, David, and we will catch up again soon. I hope you have a great rest of your evening.
Thank you. You too.
Bye.
Bye.